Somewhere, a committee decided it was a public menace for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub and a national security threat for Winnie the Pooh to not wear pants. These aren't jokes from a writer's room. They are the official rules that govern our world. Society is a machine held together by laws, but this is a deep dive into the 48 times the gears of that machine completely snapped. Prepare for a tour of the most illogical, absurd, and brilliant failures in legal history. 1. In Cuba, until very recently, your home Wi-Fi password wasn't for keeping neighbors off your network. It was to keep you out of jail. For decades, the state treated private internet access like a dangerous narcotic. If you wanted a taste of the digital world, you had to visit a state-sanctioned park, buy an overpriced scratch-off card for a pitifully slow connection, and burn through a week's wages in an hour. It was a brilliant dystopian strategy. Turn basic modern communication into a luxury commodity, ensuring that information remained the government's most tightly controlled substance. 2. Back in 2002, Greece attempted to solve the problem of illegal gambling with the legislative equivalent of using a nuclear bomb to kill a fly. They enacted a blanket ban on all electronic games. This wasn't just about slot machines. Your copy of PC Solitaire was now contraband. Playing Snake on your phone was a criminal act. One poor soul was actually fined for using his Game Boy. It was a short-lived era of technological prohibition, where, for a moment, the Greek government officially declared war on Super Mario. 3. On the serene Italian island of Capri, you can be declared a public menace for your choice of shoes. It's illegal to wear noisy footwear, a law aimed squarely at the percussive slap of loud flip-flops and clogs. The island's commitment to acoustic tranquility is so extreme that tourists have been hit with actual fines for committing the crime of loud walking. It's a travel destination where the biggest legal risk isn't a pickpocket, but a pair of offensively loud sandals, turning a peaceful stroll into a high-stakes stealth mission. 4. In Western Australia, a large sack of potatoes can make you a criminal. It's illegal for any single person to possess over 110 pounds of them. This law is a bizarre hangover from a time when a government body, the Potato Marketing Corporation, ran the industry like a mafia family. This rule wasn't about food security. It was about crushing competition and maintaining their starchy monopoly. It effectively created an underground tuber trade, complete with potato kingpins and the constant threat of a raid on your secret potato stash. 5. In North Korea, a simple pair of blue jeans is seen as a direct attack on the state itself. The regime considers denim to be a potent symbol of American imperialism, a corrupting fabric from the capitalist enemy. It's on a list of forbidden styles, and special fashion police actively hunt for citizens bold enough to wear it. This transforms a global wardrobe staple into a powerful act of rebellion. In Pyongyang, your Levi's aren't just pants. They're a declaration of ideological war. 6. The crime of jaywalking doesn't really exist in most of the world. It's an American concept that was masterfully engineered. In the 1920s, car companies launched a massive propaganda campaign to claim ownership of the streets from pedestrians. They funded news stories and safety campaigns that framed anyone crossing mid-street as a foolish jay. They didn't just change the culture, they literally invented a crime and lobbied it into law, all to ensure that people, not cars, were seen as the intruders on the road. 7. Arizona law specifically prohibits a donkey from sleeping in a bathtub. This masterpiece of legislative absurdity was born from a real incident in 1924. A rancher's donkey loved to nap in an old tub on his property. When a nearby dam broke, a flash flood turned the tub into a boat, sending the poor animal on a terrifying voyage downstream. An entire town mobilized for the rescue, and afterward, they immortalized this bizarre maritime disaster in the legal code just to be safe. 8. In Burundi, lacing up your sneakers for a group run could earn you a life sentence. In 2014, the president outlawed jogging in groups, claiming these fitness gatherings were merely a cover for organizing political opposition. He officially decided that cardio was a gateway drug to revolution. Since then, people have been imprisoned for the simple act of exercising together. A chilling reality where a government is so paranoid, it declares war on something as wholesome as a morning jog. 9. If you damage a saguaro cactus in Arizona, you could face up to 25 years in prison. That's not a typo. You can literally get more time for harming a plant than for many violent assaults. These desert giants are a protected species, and the state's enforcement is notoriously aggressive. It's a place where the legal system sends a clear, if unsettling, message. In the hierarchy of importance, a very large prickly plant ranks significantly higher than your average human. 10. Since 1992, Singapore has been waging a total, uncompromising war against chewing gum. The sale and import are banned. This wasn't just a tidy-up effort. It was triggered by vandals using gum to jam the sensors on the country's brand-new, multi-billion-dollar train system. Now, the only legal way to get it is with a prescription for dental or nicotine gum. It's the one place on Earth where you need a pharmacist to dispense your stick of Trident, turning a simple craving into a bureaucratic ordeal. 11. In Sweden, your desire to paint your house bright purple is a matter for a government committee to decide. You can't just pick a color, you must submit your choice for official approval to ensure it maintains aesthetic harmony with the neighborhood. It's the ultimate expression of Scandinavian design philosophy enforced by law. This isn't just about preventing eyesores, it's about the state regulating your personal taste. Your dream of a vibrant, expressive home is secondary to the collective's commitment to tasteful shades of beige. 12. The officially atheist Chinese Communist Party has passed a law making it illegal for Tibetan Buddhist monks to reincarnate without government permission. This is not a metaphor. Lamas wishing to be reborn must first fill out a series of applications and get them approved by the state. It is a bureaucratic maneuver of cosmic proportions, an attempt to control not just life and death, but the very cycle of rebirth itself. It's the ultimate power play, seizing administrative control over eternity for political gain. 13. In Canada, that fantasy of paying off a debt with a giant sack of pennies is, sadly, a federal crime. The Currency Act of 1985 sets strict limits on how many coins you can legally use in one transaction. For instance, you can be turned away for using more than $5 in nickels. The law effectively exists to prevent you from using your pocket change as a weapon of passive aggression. So, your grand scheme to inconvenience your landlord with a wheelbarrow full of dimes? Officially thwarted by the Canadian government. 14. The city of Tel Aviv has a specific ordinance that makes it illegal to bring a bear to the beach. We can only assume this law exists because, at some point in history, someone tried. Every bizarre rule is a scar from a past catastrophe, and this one paints an incredible picture. Imagine the sheer chaos. A bear shaking sand out of its fur, batting at seagulls, attempting to steal picnic baskets. This law isn't just weird, it's a monument to a legendary and likely terrifying day at the beach. 15. The age-old question, why did the chicken cross the road, has a simple answer in Quitman, Georgia. It didn't, because it's illegal. A local ordinance puts the full legal responsibility on chicken owners to keep their birds from wandering onto public streets. It was designed to keep livestock contained, but its glorious side effect is that it legally neuters one of history's most famous jokes. In Quitman, the chicken's journey is not a philosophical riddle. It's a code violation and a potential fine. 16. In the city of Chico, California, possessing a nuclear weapon within city limits carries a fine of $500. Let that sink in. If you are caught orchestrating thermonuclear Armageddon from your suburban garage, the city will treat it with the same legal severity as a parking violation. The law was a symbolic anti-war statement, but the result is a hilariously disproportionate penalty. It creates a world where building a weapon of mass destruction is, from a municipal standpoint, just a slightly more expensive speeding ticket. 17. Canadian radio stations are legally required to be patriotic. A law known as CanCon mandates that at least 35% of the music they play must be Canadian. The government has a complicated point system to determine a song's Canadianness, turning cultural identity into a bureaucratic checklist. While it guarantees airtime for Canadian superstars, it also means that for decades, every citizen has been subjected to a government-enforced quota of bands they might otherwise choose to avoid. It's cultural protectionism with a hit-or-miss playlist. 18. In Trinidad and Tobago, wearing camouflage clothing can get you arrested. This isn't a fashion guideline from the local authorities. It's a national security law. The ban exists to prevent gang members and criminals from impersonating military personnel, a serious problem in several Caribbean nations. So while that camo jacket might be a trendy statement in New York or London, wearing it on the streets of Port of Spain is seen as a criminal act, instantly turning a tourist into a potential suspect. 19. It is technically illegal to leave your home in Thailand if you are not wearing underwear. Now, how this law is enforced is a terrifying and unanswered question. There's no official underwear inspection protocol, which makes the rule exist in a state of pure psychological dread. It's a law that seems designed not for actual prosecution, but to ensure that everyone is constantly, uncomfortably aware of its existence. It's probably best not to test the system on this one. 20. In the small Italian town of Eboli, it is illegal to kiss inside a moving vehicle. The authorities deemed passionate smooching to be a hazardous distraction for drivers and slapped a potential €500 fine on it. This creates a fascinating paradox. In a country celebrated for romance and passion, the simple act of a kiss can become a costly traffic violation. It means your romantic Italian road trip must remain disappointingly chaste until the car is safely in park. 21. In France, the concept of parental responsibility doesn't end when your child turns 18. According to the Civil Code, if your financially dependent adult child is still living with you, you are legally on the hook for any damage they cause. So, if your 25-year-old son, who's finding himself in your basement, decides to fly a drone into the neighbor's prized sculpture, the repair bill is yours. The classic American defense of, he's an adult, he makes his own choices, will get you laughed out of a French courtroom. 22. In Malaysia, the government acts as your child's first bully by legally preventing you from giving them a weird name. It is illegal to name a child after animals, insects, fruits, vegetables, or even colors. This law exists to supposedly protect children from ridicule, but it's really just the state asserting its authority over personal expression. So your dream of naming your firstborn Mango, or Azure, is officially dead on arrival, thanks to the National Registration Department's war on creativity. 23. In the Japanese city of Yamato, the simple act of walking while looking at your phone has been outlawed. This isn't just a friendly suggestion on a sign, it's a municipal ordinance. While the goal is to prevent texting and walking accidents, the enforcement turns public spaces into a low-stakes version of a surveillance state. It feels like a policy designed by exasperated parents for an entire city, where the government's job is to tell you to watch where you're going and treat your smartphone like a public menace. 24. The French wine region of Châteauneuf-du-Pape is officially a no-fly zone for UFOs. In 1954, the mayor passed a decree making it illegal for flying saucers or flying cigars to land in or fly over the town's vineyards. It was a marketing stunt of pure genius, drawing global attention to their wine. The law was never repealed, which means that any extraterrestrial tourists planning a wine tasting trip must now worry about local zoning laws. One wrong move, and their intergalactic vessel could get towed. 25. In Alabama, it's illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket. This sounds like a law created during a legislative fever dream, but it's actually a brilliant old-school anti-theft measure. Back in the day, this was a common technique for horse thieves. They'd drop a cone in their pocket, and a horse would follow them, lured by the scent. If caught, the thief could claim the horse just followed them home. It's not a law against dessert. It's a law against a very specific, very clever, low-tech form of grand theft auto. 26. In Portugal, it is technically against the law to urinate in the ocean. This regulation, part of the country's maritime laws, seems impossibly unenforceable. One has to wonder what the intended method of prosecution would be. Does the Portuguese Navy deploy undercover swimmers? Are there heat-seeking sensors monitoring for sudden pockets of warmth in the water? It's a perfect example of legislative optimism, a law that exists more as a polite suggestion to the nation's swimmers than as a rule anyone could ever hope to enforce. 27. In many apartment buildings in Switzerland, it is illegal to flush the toilet after 10 p.m. This isn't a myth, it's a common rule in building leases enforced by noise regulations. Swiss culture places an extreme value on peace and quiet, and old plumbing can be loud. Therefore, your late-night bodily functions are legally considered a public nuisance. It's a law that pits basic biology against the national obsession with order, forcing residents into a nightly dilemma: break the law or just let it mellow. 28. In Maryland, a state law makes it illegal to be cruel to an oyster. While the statute's intent is to regulate the oyster industry and prevent destructive harvesting, the wording is hilariously anthropomorphic. It opens a Pandora's box of philosophical questions. What exactly constitutes being mean to a bivalve? Is shucking it too aggressively a form of assault? Does forgetting to add a squeeze of lemon count as neglect? It's a law that inadvertently grants emotional protection to a shellfish. 29. In France, your wedding vows can legally transcend death. A practice known as posthumous matrimony allows you to marry a deceased person. It's not a simple process. You need to prove the deceased intended to marry you and secure permission directly from the President of France. The law gained prominence after a dam collapse in 1959, when a grieving fiancée successfully petitioned to marry her late partner. It remains a profoundly sorrowful and bizarre intersection of romance, tragedy, and high-level government paperwork. 30. Be careful if you sing in public in North Carolina, because it's technically illegal to be off-key. The law is nestled within statutes about disturbing the peace, meaning your shower-singing voice, if performed on the street, could be deemed a public nuisance. While it's rarely enforced, it gives police the theoretical power to issue a citation for crimes against music. It's a law that makes Simon Cowell's harshest critiques sound like friendly advice compared to an actual legal reprimand. 31. In Paraguay, you can legally challenge someone to a duel, provided one bizarre condition is met: both parties must be registered blood donors. It's a morbidly pragmatic twist on an archaic tradition. The logic seems to be that if you're going to insist on engaging in a barbaric activity that might create a need for blood, you should have the decency to contribute to the supply first. It's a strange and bloody form of civic responsibility, where settling a personal vendetta also helps with public health. 32. According to the German legal code, a pillow can be classified as a passive weapon. This means that in the context of a physical altercation, striking someone with a pillow could lead to a charge of assault with a dangerous object. The reasoning is that a pillow, while soft, can be used for suffocation. This transforms a slumber party pillow fight from harmless fun into a potential felony, proving that the German justice system has a meticulously crafted legal category for literally everything, no matter how fluffy. 33. A 1986 law in the United Kingdom makes it illegal to handle a salmon in suspicious circumstances. The phrasing is a masterpiece of British understatement and ambiguity. What exactly makes the handling of a fish suspicious? Is it the trench coat and sunglasses? The frantic attempt to stuff it into a mailbox? The law was designed to target poachers, but its wonderfully vague language creates a world where anyone carrying a salmon could be seen as the protagonist in a low-budget spy film. 34. On a playground in Tucson, Poland, Winnie the Pooh is considered an undesirable character and is officially banned. In 2014, local councilors deemed the beloved bear an inappropriate role model due to his hermaphroditic nature and, most offensively, his lack of pants. They argued that a proper bear mascot should be fully clothed. It's a bizarre case of political correctness gone wild, where a children's character known only for his love of honey and friends was publicly shamed and exiled for indecent exposure. 35. In France, there is a centuries-old law that forbids you from naming a pig Napoleon. This rule was originally put in place to protect the honor of the emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte, from being sullied by association with a farm animal. While enforcement is probably lax these days, the law remains on the books as a testament to France's unwavering commitment to historical reverence. It ensures that, at least in the eyes of the law, the dignity of a long-dead emperor is more important than a farmer's naming rights for his livestock. 36. In Oklahoma, you can be fined or even jailed for making an ugly face at a dog. This isn't just a quirky local legend, it's on the books. The law presents a fascinating legal challenge. What constitutes an ugly face in the eyes of the court? Is a slight frown a minor infraction, while a full-blown, cheek-puffing, eye-crossing grimace is a felony? One pictures a courtroom drama where a police sketch artist has to accurately render the defendant's expression for the jury, all while the canine plaintiff barks its damning testimony from the witness stand. 37. In North Carolina, the government has decided there's a legal limit to fun, specifically when it comes to bingo. A state law prohibits non-profit organizations from hosting a game that lasts longer than 5 hours. This legislation seems to be a preemptive strike against a problem that sounds amazing: underground, high-stakes bingo marathons. It conjures images of smoke-filled halls, intense players fueled by coffee, and a grizzled caller working a 24-hour shift. The law exists to prevent a scenario that sounds far more entertaining than any legal bingo game. 38. Every coin tossed into Rome's Trevi Fountain is immediately protected by law, making it illegal to retrieve any of them. Tourists throw in over $1 million a year for good luck, but what they're really doing is making a charitable donation. Every night, the city collects the coins and gives them to a nonprofit that aids the needy. So, anyone tempted to fish out a few euros isn't just breaking a municipal ordinance. They are literally stealing from the poor, right in front of a giant statue of the god Neptune. Talk about bad karma. 39. In Japan, for citizens between 40 and 74, being overweight is against the law. The Municipal law of 2008 requires companies to perform annual waistline measurements on their employees. The legal limits are 33.5 inches for men and 35.4 for women. There's no prison time for exceeding the limit, but you are mandated to receive diet counseling and guidance. It's a nationwide, government-enforced health plan that's either a brilliant piece of preventative medicine or a terrifyingly intrusive form of state-sponsored body shaming. 40. According to a law from 1324, any whale or sturgeon discovered on the coast of the United Kingdom automatically becomes the personal property of the monarch. These are known as fishes royal. This means that if a 60-foot whale washes ashore, it technically belongs to the crown. This centuries-old rule creates a wonderfully awkward royal obligation. For hundreds of years, the kings and queens of England have had the legal right and the logistical nightmare of figuring out what to do with a surprise, multi-ton dead sea creature. 41. In the Pacific island nation of Samoa, a husband can be legally penalized for forgetting his wife's birthday. This is not a joke from a sitcom, it's an actual enforceable law. While the punishment isn't severe, usually a warning or a fine, it officially turns a domestic faux pas into a matter for the state. The law essentially functions as a government-backed relationship counselor, using the threat of legal action to ensure marital harmony and, more importantly, the proper acknowledgement of special occasions. 42. In Turkmenistan, owning a black car is illegal. The country's dictator, who is famously obsessed with the color white as a symbol of good fortune, decided to ban dark-colored vehicles from the capital city. police began impounding black cars overnight, forcing citizens into the hugely expensive task of repainting their vehicles to a state-approved color. It's a stunning display of autocratic power, where a leader's bizarre personal superstition instantly becomes the law of the land, and your car's paint job is a political statement. 43. In the United Kingdom, it is illegal for a member of Parliament to wear a suit of armor inside the House of Commons. This law dates back to 1313 and was created to stop politicians from intimidating each other with armed knights during debates. It's still on the books today, which feels like a missed opportunity. Imagine how much more engaged the public would be with legislative proceedings if there were a genuine risk of a heated argument over budget allocations escalating into a full-blown medieval sword fight on the floor of Parliament. 44. In Sweden, if you want to dance, you might need a permit first. A law requires public establishments like bars and restaurants to obtain a special danstillstånd, or dancing license. This means that spontaneous dancing in an unlicensed venue is technically illegal. The rule is a relic of moral panic from a bygone era, but it remains a legendary piece of Swedish bureaucracy. It represents the state's attempt to regulate joy, ensuring that any public display of fun is properly documented and officially sanctioned. 45. For a pickle to be legally considered a pickle in Connecticut, it must bounce. This isn't just a quirky tradition. It became a legal standard after a 1948 court case involving two pickle packers arrested for selling products unfit for human consumption. During the trial, an official testified that a quality pickle, when dropped from a height of 1 foot, would bounce. This simple physical test was adopted as law, implying the historical existence of a state-employed pickle bouncer whose job was to verify the structural integrity of cucumbers. 46. There is a law in Vermont that makes it illegal to tie a giraffe to a telephone pole. No one in Vermont's history seems to know why this law was created. There was no Great Giraffe Telephone Pole Incident of 1927. This appears to be a case of extreme legislative foresight. A group of lawmakers gathered together, looked toward the future, and collectively decided that, should a giraffe ever be brought to their state, they would not allow it to be tethered to their public infrastructure. They solved a problem that has never and will likely never exist. 47. In Alabama, it is illegal to wear a fake mustache in church if it causes laughter. The precision of this law is what makes it so beautiful. The fake mustache itself is not the crime. A serious, contemplative fake mustache is perfectly legal. The crime is comedic disruption. The moment your disguise elicits a giggle from the congregation, you have crossed a legal line. This puts church ushers in the difficult position of having to be both spiritual guides and comedy critics, judging whether your facial hair is acceptably solemn. 48. It is illegal to fall asleep in a cheese factory in South Dakota. This law is not a general safety regulation about sleeping on the job. It is specifically about cheese-making facilities. It begs the question, what happened here? What narcoleptic dairy disaster was so profound that it needed to be immortalized in the state's legal code? It's a law that speaks to a very specific, and probably very messy, incident in the history of cheese production, one that officials decided could never ever be allowed to happen again. So, these laws prove one thing. The line between order and absolute madness is terrifyingly thin. Now, let's make this interesting. We all have a little criminal in us. I want you to expose yourself in the comments. Which of these 48 laws would you break on principle, without a single shred of guilt, and what's your rock-solid justification for it? Don't be shy. For more content that challenges the rules, subscribe and hit the like button.